Jean-Jacques Rousseau once wrote, quote, "Christianity preaches only servitude and dependence. Its spirit is so favorable to tyranny that it always profits such a regime. True Christians are made to be slaves."
Is that correct, that Christianity only produces slaves? Well, in the American experience, 99.8% of the colonists at the time of the Revolution claimed to be Christians. And, as we're about to see, some of them paid the ultimate price to overthrow tyranny and secure our freedom.
In 1776, 56 men, representing less than 3 million people, signed one of the most important documents in history, the Declaration of Independence. If the fledgling colonies succeeded in defending themselves from the most powerful nation on earth, it was worth the gamble. If they failed, they were signing their death warrants. One of those 56 men was the Reverend Dr. John Witherspoon, president of Princeton, who played a key role in training many of our founding fathers in a biblical understanding of government. One such student was James Madison, chief architect of the Constitution.
Witherspoon certainly was a leader in the Continental Congress. He appeared in clerical garb on the floor of Congress and was on over 100 committees and was an ardent patriot.
As the storm clouds of war began to gather over the colonies, Dr. Witherspoon preached a sermon in 1776, wherein he declared,
"If your cause is just, you may look with confidence to the Lord and entreat him to plead it as his own."
He likened the American cause to David facing Goliath, and he quoted 1 Samuel chapter 17 in the Bible.
Then said David to the Philistine, "Thou comest to me with a sword, and with a spear, and with a shield. But I come unto thee in the name of the Lord of hosts."
It really became the pastors that carried the revolution forward so fast and so quickly. And therefore, you'll find that in the American Revolution, when British soldiers took prisoners of war, if they were signers of the Declaration, or if they were pastors, they got treated worse than any other prisoner of war. Those were the two that got abused most often, because they were the leaders of the American Revolution. The political leaders and the spiritual leaders, the pastors and the founding fathers, those were the two that got in trouble.
The level of the signers' commitment and their willingness to sacrifice in order to secure liberty under law is evident in the final words of their declaration.
And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
At least 5 of the declaration signers died prematurely because of their pledge.
You know, Richard Stockton was a founder that, when imprisoned by the British, was specifically treated with severity because he had been a signer of the Declaration of Independence. Never recovered in his health because of the way that he'd been treated. Literally ended up almost like a beggar afterwards and lost everything that he had.
Many of the signers lost their property during the war. In 1781, Virginia signer Thomas Nelson, Jr. was forced to evacuate his stately house in Yorktown. When he learned that Cornwallis was using it as headquarters, Nelson insisted that his own home be destroyed by cannon, lest it be used to the advantage of the enemy. Earlier, Nelson had raised $2 million for the cause of independence by putting his property up for collateral.
This man's home was basically destroyed by American artillery fire. After the war, he ended up virtually penniless. But here was a man who didn't hesitate to offer everything he had, all his worldly possessions, for the American cause. America was led by men and women like Thomas Nelson, Jr.
Every one of the 56 men that signed the Declaration of Independence followed through on the commitment. When they did have to watch their home be burned, or they had to watch their sons die in the Revolutionary War, indeed they had to give their whole life for the freedom that they birthed for us.
Through the whole ordeal, many of the signers paid a high price, and all of them were willing to pay a high price, so that these United States could be one nation under God.
I'm standing at the grave of General Thomas Nelson, Jr., who consented to have his own beautiful home bombarded for the cause of freedom and was subsequently bankrupted. As it says here on his tombstone, he gave all for liberty. Dear friend, do you think that the founders of this country sacrificed so much, laid it all on the line, so that we could then squander the freedom they won for us? John Adams put it well when he said, speaking directly to us, "Posterity, you will never know how much it costs the present generation to preserve your freedom. I hope you will make good use of it. If you do not, I shall repent it in heaven that I ever took half the pains to preserve it."